Okay, I want to ask you something right at the top, and I want you to think about it before you answer. If someone asks you right now what your podcast is about, what would you say? Go ahead and actually say it out loud if you want to. Now, here is the little harder question. Could a complete stranger repeat what you just say back to you accurately in one sentence? If the answer is no, or if you are not totally sure, this video is for you. Because here is what I'm seeing happen over and over again with podcasters who are doing everything right: great audio, consistent publishing, solid content, but something still feels off. Their show isn't growing the way they expected. People listen once and don't come back, and they can't figure it out why. 9 times out of 10, it comes down to one thing: their positioning isn't clear. And the fix? It's one sentence, literally one sentence. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to write it. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you're going to have a positioning sentence you can use as your topic filter, your show intro, your pitch to new listeners, and honestly, the North Star every time you sit down to record. So let's get into it. First, I want to make sure we are on the same page about what positioning actually means, because it's one of those words that sounds like marketing jargon and it makes people immediately tune out. Forget about the jargon. Here is what it really means. So positioning is just the answer to who is this for and what does it do for them. That's it. And the reason it matters so much for podcasters specifically is this: people don't subscribe to podcasts the way they subscribe to a newsletter or follow someone on Instagram. With a podcast, they are making a time commitment every single episode. So before they hit follow, they are asking themselves, maybe not consciously, but they are asking, is this show for me? Is this going to keep being relevant to my life? If they can answer that question clearly after listening to your first episode, they're gone. Not because your content was bad, because the promise wasn't clear. And here is where it gets interesting, because unclear positioning doesn't just affect your audience, it affects you. When you don't have a clear positioning sentence, every time that you sit down to plan an episode, you're starting from scratch. You're asking, what should I talk about this week? Is this too niche? Is this too broad? What my audience care about this? And that really is exhausting. And it's also the reason why so many podcasts go silent after 20 episodes. Not because the host ran out of passion, but because they ran out of direction. Clear positioning solves that. When you know exactly who you are talking to, what problem you are helping them with, and what results you are moving them towards, planning an episode takes minutes, not hours. So let's build yours. Here is the sentence structure I want you to use. It's simple, almost embarrassingly simple, and that's the point. So this show helps who? With what type of problem? So they can get a result. Now, 3 pieces. Let me walk you through each one of them. So the who. This is your specific listener, not an entrepreneur, not people who want to be healthier, specific. Think about the version of that person who needs you most. Are they just starting out? Are they mid career? Are they stuck at some specific moment in their journey? The more specific your who, the easier everything else becomes. Now, let's focus on the problem. What is the thing that your listeners are struggling with? confused about, or trying to figure it out. And I want to push you here because you need to go a little bit deeper than the surface problem. The surface problem for the first time home buyers might be I don't understand the process. The real problem is I'm terrified of making a six-figure mistake and I don't even know who to trust. When you name the real problem, your listening feels seen, and that's what makes you them stay. Now, let's focus on the result. What does life look like on the other side? Not what you teach, what they get from what you teach. So they can understand the market, that's the lesson. So they can buy with confidence and not feel like they are being taken advantage of. That's a result. Feel the difference. People follow shows that promise them to move somewhere. Make sure your result is a destination, not just a subject. Let's make this real because I could talk about the formula all day long, but the examples are where it clicks. And I'm going to walk you through five positioning sentences across five different industries. And for each one, I want you to notice two things as how specific the who is and how the result is a feeling or an outcome, not just a topic. So now let's see an example based on real estate cases. This show helps first time home buyers understand the process so they can buy with confidence without feeling overwhelmed or taken advantage of. So if you notice, first time home buyers, not people interested in real estate. And the result isn't understand real estate, it's buy with confidence. That's the destination. Now let's focus on another sample in the health wellness environment. So this show helps busy professionals build healthier routines so they can feel better without overhauling their entire life. That last part, without overhauling their entire life, it's doing a lot of work because it's directly addressing the objection that busy people have. That one phrase tells them, this show gets you. Now, our next example is within the small businesses. This show helps small business owners simplify their marketing so they can get consistent leads without spending a fortune on ads. Without spending a fortune on ads, it speaks directly to the fear. Every small business owner has either burned out money on ads or it's scared of doing exactly that. You acknowledge that before they even ask. Now, another example is in the financial services. This show helps self employed professionals understand their finances so they can stop dreading tax season and start making smarter money decisions. Here are two results: stop dreading, which is a pain removal, and start making smarter decisions, which is a positive gain. The combination is powerful. You are not just fixing a problem, you are opening a door. And another example that we can use this time, it's about coaching and consulting. This show helps new managers go from overwhelmed to confident using a simple leadership framework they can actually use on Monday morning. Here it is on Monday morning. That's so specific. And that specificity builds trust. It tells your listeners, I know exactly where you are right now, and I know what you need. Now, if you notice, all five of those sentences are a little longer than one sentence in the traditional sense. And you're right. But also, it is fine. The goal isn't brevity for its own sake, the goal is clarity. If it takes 30 words to be specific and clear, use 30 words. Now, so let's say you drafted your sentence. How do you know if it's working? Run it through this simple three tests: the stranger test, the topic test, and the gut test. The stranger test: read your positioning sentence to someone who knows nothing about your podcast. Then ask them, based on that, would you know what this show is about? If they hesitate even the slightest, it needs work. You want an immediate yes. That's for people who. Now, the topic test. Before you record your next episode, ask three questions. Does this topic help my who? Does it connect to the problem? Does it move them towards the result? If you can answer yes to at least two of those three, it might be a great topic for a different show, but no for this. One of the fastest ways to lose subscribers is going off topic. Not because they don't like you, it is because you broke the promise. They follow you for this. When you show up with that, it creates a small moment of confusion, and enough of those small moments, and they quietly leave. The next is the gut test. Does your positioning sentence make you feel excited to record? Does it feel like you? Your positioning sentence should feel like something you said at dinner table when someone asks what your podcast is about. Natural, clear, a little proud. And if you are still not sure, say it out loud 3 times. The right sentence sounds like you. The wrong one sounds like a mission statement. Now, if I want to zoom out for a second, because I don't want you to walk away thinking this is just an exercise in wordsmithing, your position sentence is the backbone of your entire show. Once you have it, 3 things start happening that didn't before. So planning gets easier, like dramatically easier. Instead of wondering what to record next, you start with your positioning sentence and ask, what does my listener needs to hear this week to get one step closer to that result? That's your episode. Done. You can batch 3 episodes in one afternoon when you are thinking this clearly. Your episode feels connected. This is something listeners notice but can always name. When every episode is built from the same positioning sentence, there is a coherent thread running through your show. It feels intentional, curated, like someone is actually steering the ship. And that's what makes people binge you back catalog instead of just sampling one episode. You stop second guessing yourself. This might be one of the biggest ones. Because one of the most draining parts of creating content consistently isn't recording. It's the self-doubt in between. Is this good enough? Is this on brand? Is anyone going to care about this? When your positioning is clear, you have a filter. You stop asking, is this good? And I start asking, is this right for my listeners? That's a much more answerable question, and it moves you from the doubt to the momentum. So here is where I want to leave you with. If you don't have a positioning sentence yet, write one today. Use the formula. It doesn't have to be perfect. A rough draft you actually use is worth 10 perfect sentences you never finish. If you have one, go test it. Read it to someone. Run it through the topic test. Say it out loud. See if it still feels like you. And if you want to share it, Drop it in the comments. I actually read them and I'll give you honest feedback. All right, real quick before you go. If this was helpful, subscribe. I put out videos like this regularly, practical, no fluff stuff for podcasters and content creators who are serious about building something that lasts. I also write a free weekly Substack where I go even deeper on podcast strategies, episode templates, and industry playbooks. The link is in the description, so it is worth checking it out if you want the written version to go along with the videos. And genuinely, if you have a question you want me to tackle next, leave it in the comments. Tell me your industry and your biggest podcast roadblock. I turn those into future episodes and Substack posts, so your question might literally become the next video. Thanks for watching. Go write that sentence, and I'll see you on the next one.